Hi everyone, welcome along to the Timeform and Sporting Life weekend racing preview. The Flat is back. The Flat turf season starts at Doncaster on Saturday afternoon, starring the William Hill Lincoln Handicap. Always a great race and a great punting race, Matt, isn't it, the Lincoln, that we just can't wait to get stuck into, really.
We can't, no. We've just about shaken off our Cheltenham Festival hangovers, haven't we? And then the Flat comes around, and then we do have a bit of a gap. The next Flat turf racing in Britain isn't until next Saturday. That's in Scotland, in Musselburgh. But this is a good card, good stuff on Saturday and Sunday at Doncaster. Some fairly breezy conditions, I think, on Tower. Might want to be covered up a little bit in the early stages, but definitely looking at soft holding ground as well.
Yeah, Kieren, it's a good point, isn't it, the ground, because we've been dealing with that over jumps over the last few weeks, including at the festival, the start of the turf season, and we are dealing with soft, heavy ground again. You've got to look for those sort of horses.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly the same as the Lincoln last year. It was run on borderline unraceable ground. The wet winter holds, the sun's been out the last few days, but it's still going to be really testing ground, and it's definitely going to put fitness to the test, isn't it? You're going to have something that you think is going to be fully tuned up, maybe something that goes well fresh, or maybe just an unexposed one who is still at the right end of the weights. But it's going to be a tricky punting car, but I can't wait. Proper racing's back, Scoop.
Yeah, it is good stuff. We are going to look at the Timeform ratings, a few video clues, a pace map to try and solve the Lincoln. And there we are, Kieren. The Timeform ratings are well top of the shop, and he ran such a good race in it last year.
He did, thanks for reminding me, because I backed him, and he got chinned about 50 yards from the line. But yeah, there's nothing between these. So if these ratings, if they all run to the best rating, this is going to be some finish, isn't it? We've got
there are actually 9 or 10 rated 120 with Timeform as well. There's a
right.
couple just off the charts there as well. But yeah, it's tight at the top and all the way down. So.
Yeah, as you'd expect, the sort of sexier profile ones are towards the top. So you got a while who we'll touch on soon. Liberty Lane as well, who heads the betting. He's a 4-year-old Migration, last year's winner. Then you've got the Irish Lincoln winner from last year, Latam, who's joined Judy Camacho from William Haggis. And you've also got the Irish Lincoln winner from this Monday in, how do you pronounce that, Scoop? Chazisme?
Chazisme, yeah. I think we'll definitely go with that for Foster.
He's really interesting runner, because obviously he gets a £5 penalty for winning the other day, but he's quite impressive.
Hold your horses, because that video clue comes later in the show. But I'm
just teeing it up nicely for a Scoop.
The first video clue comes from Red Car at the back end of last season, because we've got two horses here who have got good chances in the Lincoln. They were both beaten this day. But just talk us through this, gents, Awal and Johan.
Yeah, so Johan won this 2 years ago. He's got a terrific record when fresh. He won the mile at Goodwood last year as well, didn't he?
In the maroon and dark blue.
Yeah, and Awal's on the rail. So Awal's a funny one, because he came into this race last year and I thought we were talking about a group horse at handicap. And he ran an absolute blinder, and then he didn't manage to win last year. He ran a lot of good races in defeat. He was placed in a Bunbury Cup, he was placed in a Royal Hunt Cup. He's excused the running the Balmoral. He was on the wrong side at his final run last year. He's been a favourite of mine for the past year or so, but he's becoming expensive to follow, and there's only so many times you can go to the well, and I think I've already jumped off the cliff.
He's fairly well found in the market, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Johan, Matt, obviously won the race before, goes really well fresh.
He does, yeah. He's got a hint of class about him as well, hasn't he? Probably not a huge amount, if anything, in hand from the handicapper off his current mark. He runs over 106. He will have to pull out another career best. So I think there's a fair reason to take this sort of horse on. It's probably the time to catch him if you want to be with him, because as we saw there, he sort of dropped out the back at Red Car, and that was, I know he was fresh from another couple of months off that day as well, but he had won at Goodwood. He won the Golden Mile on his first run back for the thick end of a year last summer. It's softish ground that day. He certainly handles a bit of cut. He wouldn't want it heavy, I don't think. Doesn't want it particularly deep, but yeah, he certainly handles some cut. We know he likes Doncaster, yeah, Sylvester de Souza. You could see him going well for him, couldn't you?
Yeah, I was just going to touch on that. He's back, isn't he, after that ban he got in Hong Kong, and he had a winner at Newcastle on his first ride back. It'd be interesting to see how he does this year, Sylvester, because he has a ride for Varian as well, I saw. So he might
a few good rides Saturday.
A few good outside rides. Yeah, he might, whether he ventures up north more than what he has been of late. He obviously made his name in the north, and it'd be good to see him rolling.
Yeah, very good and experienced jockey. Well, Kieren, you're going to get your wish now, because we have got Chazisme winning the Irish Lincoln this week, Matt. In the light blue silks there towards the stand side. Travelled beautifully this day, as if he's a horse that's very well handicapped.
Definitely, yeah. If you actually rolled back even further, just to around the 2 furlong pole, he just got a little bit of a bump, and it just seemed to light him up.
Yeah.
He came on the bridle, snapped on the bridle, and came through. Possibly hit the front even, soon enough, I'd say. Well on top of the line, and he is a fascinating project for the Stacks, who have always started the season fairly strongly, haven't they? And obviously living up to that billing this time around. He has a £5 penalty, so another career best for him to pull out the double here. He's a fascinating project, isn't he? I don't know if you spotted, but he's bred by Curly Leisure. Barney Curly bred him, and after his 4 starts in a maiden, he went off 11-4 favourite on handicap debut at Dundalk for mark of 67, and it was quite an interesting one. There was sort of chatter around the track that night of a gamble from beyond the grave, because it was just a month or two after Barney had passed away. Unfortunately, that day he suffered an injury. He ended up pulling up almost soon after leaving the stalls. He actually, I think Fozzie Stack revealed earlier this week that he did fracture a pelvis. Yeah. A fairly serious injury. So they've had to take it steady with him, but they've nurtured him.
Keep him to soft ground as well now.
Keep him to soft ground. They've nurtured him, brought him back, but he hasn't stood much racing at all. He's won 3 of his 5 starts since that day, pulling up. So he's very talented. He travels strongly and handles soft ground, but the quick turnaround, that would be a massive question mark for me.
Especially now you've just mentioned that he's had fragilities in the past.
That's it. He's always needed a break, so I think it's another reason to take this horse on at a single figure price.
I agree.
Kieran Clark, let's have a look at how this race could be run. We're going to have a bit of help from the pace map, which is always vital on the Doncaster straight course. Where is the pace? Where do you think you want to be?
Well, last year, the spring mile will be a helpful clue. It's about an hour before, but last year, both the spring mile and the Lincoln on very similar ground, it developed to this side, because I backed one in the spring mile who was far side, and I knew my fate after a furlong because only 5 or 6 went that way. Now, it might have been the pace was just stand side. The pace, when you look here, it looks as if it's fairly even across the track, but you want to be low to middle, but I think they'll congregate to this near side rail.
They tend to come stand side. The year Adair won it, they were far side.
Yeah.
That's the only one I can remember, really.
Some race that won it. Adair beat Lord Glitters.
Yeah. So we're thinking middle stand side.
It's a guess, isn't it? It's an educated guess, but it is a guess. And really, when you look at that, there is a reasonably fair spread across the track. So I don't think we can be saying...
If you really fancied one low, it wouldn't put you off, would it, really?
No.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, let's have a look at Latam, because he is a come-from-behind horse, as you see. A year ago, winning the Irish Lincoln in 2023, and he comes from the clouds to win this day, Kieren.
Does, yeah. You see him in the middle. He's a chestnut with a white face, and he's just coming to get a gap now in the middle, and then he has to switch, and then he absolutely flies. But he did win again since this. He won at Newcastle, but he had cheap pieces on the last time when he ran at York, and I was there that day, and he absolutely flew here. You see there,
Just gets up.
This was first time out as well. He's got a good record fresh. So since left William Haggis, 50,000 guineas. He's gone to Julie Camacho for the same owners who had significantly.
That's right.
Yeah, so they know what they're doing. They're clearly after Saturday horses. I just think he's a bit high in the weights. Now, it might be that he's freshened up for a change of yard and he goes really well fresh. But when I saw his price, what is he, about 8-1?
Yeah, he's fairly well found now. The Camachos did nearly win the consolation race last year with that Titian who returns for the spring.
They did, yeah. I just think he's a bit high in the weights.
Yeah, Andrew Asquith put him up in Weekend View earlier in the week. I think it was about 14-1.
That's why he's 8s now, then.
Well, he's
judge, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's been backed in, but got a good chance, but probably just...
I just think the price has gone,
It's gone now.
Yeah.
The ship has sailed. That's what we're saying. Okay, so let's firm up selections. Looking at the current odds, etc., Matt, who is the value bet selection in the Lincoln?
Yeah, as I've said, I'm quite happy to take on those towards the top of the market. I'm going to cast the net fairly wide here. I'm going to go right down the bottom of the weights. It's one of those races. It's soft ground. It's early season. We're going to take a chance on one at a huge price and with extra places on offer as well. If you go back a couple of years ago, there's one in Spirit Genie Silks for the Marriott family who was placed at 100-1 in this for Eagle Way for Furtado, wasn't it? So it's Spirit Genie for me at a big price on the first run back of the season. Look, he was picked up really cheaply out of Jessica Harrington's by the Jenny Candlish yard. Jenny Candlish, obviously, a small yard, but is having winners recently over hurdles. So I'm going to take some encouragement from that. Hopefully this horse is fairly fit from his homework. And he loves soft ground, absolutely loves it. I think he'll get plenty of cover. He's actually drawn highest of all, 22. We saw that stall Secret Brief won from 22 a couple of years ago, and then before that Tullius was just chinned it from 22. So 22,
that as well.
I'm not against that high draw at all, particularly when the ground is soft. And this horse, he won a really poor seller at Leicester last year, second time out for the year, but he bolted up that day on soft ground, but then backed it up with a really good, staying on second at Newmarket behind Dash and Roger. Another couple of these were behind that day. One Night Thunder of the Tutties was in that race as well. But I think you can definitely scrap this horse's subsequent effort at Wolverhampton. He was well beaten at Newcastle as well, and at Dundalk for a previous connection. So I don't think he likes the all-weather at all, but his record in turf is good. They've drafted in Kieran O'Neill to a proper go-to lightweight jockey. I think he's 2 from 8 for the Candlish Yard as well on the flat. So some positives definitely about this horse at a big price. 33, 40 to 1 each way Spirit Genie.
I like it. 40 to 1 shot in the Lincoln Spirit Genie for Matt. Funny what you say about the Silks, because I'm going for Vetiver in the Cheveley Park Silks, who obviously won the race with Penitent back in 2010. Massive gamble that day. And she's another lightly raced homebred with group race pretensions, and having had just the 7 starts, goes on the ground, a nice big price at around 16 to 1. I think she should go well each way for Andrew Balding, who must have had plenty who could have run in this race. But Kieren, who is your selection in the Lincoln?
Yeah, I've got one at 33s. Alpha Crucis, I think is how you pronounce it. I might have absolutely butchered that, but
we'll go with it.
£2 out the handicap. It's 8 stone 2 with a £7 claimer on, trained by Gary Moore. Now, he might not be good enough, but he's got bits and pieces of form that would make it of interest, and he wasn't seen to best effect on his final start last year. He's running loose off a lightweight, and I just thought if the ground is really testing, that could stand him in good stead. He's drawn high. Listen, I think the most likely winner is Liberty Lane, but we were saying off air, I was all over him until I saw his price, and then he's 4 to 1 favourite, but he beat a really good yardstick of Rafe Beckett's here at the Ledger meeting. I think the race came too soon in the Cambridgeshire. He loves soft ground. He can be a bit keen, so this big field will help him settle. And Carl Burke's flying. We saw him have a nice winner at Southwell the other night. He was apparently Guineas bound. But yeah, Liberty Lane's the most likely winner, but how many places can we get, Matt? 7?
7 if you shop around, 6 is across the board, I think.
Yeah, I think it's Alpha Crucis.
Alpha Crucis, we'll go
33
with
to
it.
1. It's in that Heart of the South racing.
Okay.
Colours.
Well, a couple of big price selections for the team in the William Hill Lincoln. 3:35 Doncaster on Saturday. Before we leave, gents, is there anything else we should be looking out for our backing on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, we mentioned Sylvester de Souza. I'm hoping he might be able to team up with the Millmans. They've got a day in Devon in the Camage Trophy. I just think this does offer a fair bit of value, around 12, 14 to 1. She's a 3-year-old filly. We're taking a chance on her training on, but she was a hard-knocking 2-year-old. She ran a fair bit. I just don't think she was that early, nippy 2-year-old. She was producing her best right towards the back end of the season on soft ground. She went close in a listed race, showed a really good attitude, and I think if she can get loose under de Souza, getting a stone from some of these older horses, the male sprinters in the Camage, she might give them a bit of a shock.
Yeah, it could be key getting those allowances in that race. Kieren, have you got another one for us?
I just think Jim Crowley's going to stalk and pounce on Orazio, the horse that I said could
race.
be a group horse, and you laughed at me, but he still could be. Listen, things didn't go to plan after he won his first 2 starts last year, and we did the Air Gold Cup preview, and I was really bullish about him, and he drifted in the betting, and I think he could be a best horse fresh. And Montasib, and there's another one in here, Baradar, they want a real end-to-end gallop at 6 furlongs, and this could turn tactical. So I think Matt's on a live one, I really do, because she's not very big, but I do think she'll train on. She didn't strike me as just a 2-year-old last year.
No, it's a risk, but I think it's worth taking at the price.
I'd back Matt's each way and have a bit win on mine, because I think that it is between those two.
Well, we've ended up finishing on
just a reverse
Camage
forecast.
Trophy reverse forecast, which I didn't expect, but I do like it.
You got one for a scoop tomorrow?
No.
I'll just read your column online.
Read it online, yeah. Selection's still to be finalised. But thank you, gents. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed that at home. Enjoy the Lincoln. Enjoy the Flat. The Flat is back. And we'll be back as well next week.